So does the choice of estate agent change how a buyer perceives a property? I'm going to tell you right now, it 100% does, because value isn't just logic. It's perception, it's signalling, and it's the story being told. I read a post by James Kendall this week, and I completely agree with him. Buyers judge homes based upon the agent representing them. For example, weak agent, weak marketing, buyers assume that corners have been cut. Versus strong agent, strong presence. The same house suddenly feels like it's worth more, but it goes deeper than marketing. Elite agents don't just show houses, they control the narrative. They ask better questions. They understand buyer and consumer psychology. They see deals well before they happen. And nothing about the house has changed, only the agent. And that's why today's guest matters. Samantha Cerrone is proof that the agent is the product. Right, so Sam, what is the one thing that truly maximises the value of someone's home when they go to sell their property?
I'm scared about this going live because I'm waiting for people to say, no, it's this or no, it's that. In my opinion, you can't go wrong with spending money to bring value to the house in the kitchen. That could be, I think, kitchen diners, kitchen diner come family rooms, kitchen diner come family rooms with bifolds, and the kitchen being positioned at the back of the house. So we're finding that more people want to entertain. If they've got children, they want the children around them, they want their friends around them, they want it all open plan, they want party life. And when I've had houses that offer that, they're the ones that tend to go for 20, 30 grand over asking price. That and garden rooms, in my opinion.
Do you know, that's so different. No one has ever actually said that before. And what I
Is,
mean by that
is
is,
this
of
good or
course,
bad?
no, that makes sense. If you think about, like, there's a house in Sheffield that I'm selling right now, and all the buyers that have called to inquire, they've all said the same thing: open planned living and
Yeah,
layout.
yeah. We're finding ones where like the lounge is at the back and then it's a small kitchen at the front. They're like, well, the location's fab, the size is fab, but I want it swapped around, and it's quite a lot of money. So, and
Mm.
materials aren't cheap these days. So to have a big extension with a kitchen, diner, come family room, you're talking 60 grand plus. So people are like, well, I'd
Mm.
rather just put it on the mortgage. I'll pay for it over the next 30 years and I'll deal with it then.
But that's what happens though if someone can't actually put it on the mortgage, and but yet they're going, well, I'd like it, but I can't have it. I mean, what about like marketing from your perspective and photography? How do you feel that plays a part in maximizing value?
Yeah. So when you sent over some of the questions actually before, I was torn between is the answer to the question the fact that you should have a kitchen diner come family room and that will expose it. But then if you've got a really good estate agent that has professional photography, that does the right videos, along with good agents that do viewings that are passionate as well, that can make the difference of a house being sold or not.
And as you are big on video, right?
Yeah, I've tried to, when I first started like 5, 6 years ago, we'd do like 3 minute videos. And it got to the point that I was getting bored with my own videos, let alone the public. So after a lot of research and working with my social media guy, you should always try and keep the video to a minute if possible. Upbeat, good music, engaging. It's quite funny actually because I feature in as many of them as that I. Oh God, I feature in as many of them as I possibly can, and I couldn't feature in this one recently. And we went live on the video, and this one client went, "Where's the girl? Where is the girl?" I mean, she's only the business owner, but where's the girl in the video? So it. I put a post up recently actually that you can showcase the property um, to do the owners proud, but you can also showcase yourself as the business owner. So you can kill two birds with one stone when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a certain style of marketing for your business?
Yes, so for us, as is like the minute reels, minute and a half. It has my logo over the top, which is bright pink.
Mm.
I do this iconic, cheesy little teapot move, which you probably can't see in here. Um, but it's got to the point now that even like my clients will be like, I want one of them videos and I want Sam in it and I want you to do that pose. So, I mean, there's a girl, I don't know if you know Linda Stringer, but she's with us at EXP. She's just
Mm.
known for her hat. So every time she does her video, she's got her hat on. So I think it's really important that if you are doing videos, and number one is you've got to showcase it for the owner. You've got to do them proud. But then
Mm.
if you're going to feature in it, you've got to be authentic to you as well and be consistent with that as well.
But they're also buying you as well, right? And I'm not just talking about sellers. I'm talking about buyers as well. And of
Yeah.
course, it's trust. And I think that signature move that you have and people recognize you, I would argue, because you've done so many of these and because you've sold so many houses and because you've got so many excellent reviews, I would argue you're just as important as a representation of that property as the property itself.
John, it's really funny you say that because I've had a valuation this morning that's got me thinking about this because she's like, why are you different to the other agents? Now I'd love to be a fly on a wall with some of the other agents, but they're there just to start their job at 9 in the morning to finish it at 5, with some of them anyway. Some of them have got no love and passion, and they'll just open up the door and they'll probably be very pleasant and polite. And they'll just be like, this is the lounge, this is the kitchen. No, our job is to connect with the buyer, because if the buyer feels connected to us, it's going to be so much easier for us to negotiate you an extra 5 or 10 grand because that viewer trusts us. So
Mm.
showcasing your video shows you, your personality, how you are, the more you get behind the camera. So yeah, you're right. It's for sellers and buyers.
Yeah. You've just sort of leaned in on something there as well, which is you've been in agency for a long, long, long time, right? And I say 20 plus years. Um,
I know. Why?
Now, which I love, right? But equally at the same time, I get it. Yeah, why, right? But you've
Yeah.
been that trainee, you've been that senior branch manager, within corporate as well, right? And now, obviously, you're self-employed. I think as of 2020. But what of those years before self-employed actually taught you about what drives results?
I don't think I realised it till about probably 5 years into the corporate world, but you have all this training and you hopefully you have a decent manager or a decent area manager that can push you and give you direction, and here's how to close for a mortgage appointment, here's how to close for a valuation, here's how to close for an offer on a viewing. But it probably really hit me around about 5 years later that actually a lot of these deals and a lot of these instructions come on the market for you as an individual. And it's where you get to showcase your personality. So you can't give somebody a book to say, go and be passionate. Do you know what I mean? You can't teach it some people. So um that then helped me when it got into my 15th year and I was in lockdown. And at that point, I'd done 13 years worth in corporate, 2 years in an independent, that it just really dawned on me that actually, over all these years, people they've decided to put their house on the market with you, or you've negotiated a really good sale price. They've used the mortgage advisor because of you. They've used the solicitor because of you. And that was my light bulb moment where you're like, why the fuck am I doing this by myself?
Mhm. But wasn't that like scary given what the world was going through at that time? And also going from that corporate, obviously smashing it, winning awards, to then going self-employed. Despite what you said, and I just agree with you, it is like people buy from people, but certainly in agency, people want you because of what you represent and what you achieve and your results, etc. But still, you've still got to win your first instruction self-employed. That must have been scary.
Yeah, I think you have to back yourself. And if anyone's listened to any of my other podcasts, I've been very open that I was pushed as well. The thoughts were there. I'd set it all up. I knew the figures. I knew how it was all going to work. That's what I spent my time doing in lockdown, was doing all my research. But it's the whole not having any money for 6 months. I knew I could list a house. I knew I could sell it because, let's face it, some of the really good ones in these corporate worlds, the reason why those branches are successful and the reason why they're winning awards and the reason why it's profitable is because of freaking them.
Hmm.
It's that simple. So what I knew I could sell, I knew I could negotiate, I knew I could look after my clients, I knew I could do sales progression, I knew I could put them in touch with all the right people. It was just the daunting process of not having any money for 6 months. And I think that's what
Yeah.
stops a lot of people. And I get it. But I think back then, EXP and self employed models, there wasn't as many about. Whereas now, and I always said in 5 years' time, we are going to be in a completely different market. Now, we already are because there's a lot more self-employed models coming out there, although we both know EXP is the best. Um, However, double it again, John. Imagine in another 5 years. I think it's going to get to the point with some people. One of my agents recently, they got a loan. They just said, "Do you know what? I'll get a loan to cover me for the 6 months. I have to pay 250 quid a month or whatever. That'll be gone in 2, 3 years." Just it's sometimes just taking that. I was pushed. I was given a bit of a payout, and that allowed me to do it. But now I'm on like this mission to go and get as many people out of that corporate world or employed as possible.
So that actually it's a really good question, because you clearly, yes, you say you were pushed, but if you can take a horse to water, but it still may not drink. And I've spoken to a number of people that are really flirting with the idea of becoming self-employed, but they're stopping short. What sort of resourcefulness would you say that someone has to have to become, like, actually make a success of themselves within self-employed agency?
Do you know what? It's a really difficult question to ask because the bigger EXP has got, everyone's got a different story, everyone's got a different personality, everyone's got a different drive. To me, I would answer that question with resilience, hard work. You do not give up. I know it's going to sound really, this is Sam's world talking now. Middle finger up to everyone around you. I'm going to do it kind of attitude. Like it's,
Mm.
and mine was the whole, it's got to happen. I'm not going backwards. It's got to happen. However, some people have done it for other reasons. They've done it for not necessarily money. They've done it for freedom. I mean, for the first 6 months, the fact that I'd have all my work done by 12 o'clock and I'd be like, oh my God, what do I do before I get the kids from school? And I could pop to a coffee shop and read a book, or I could walk the dog without the phones ringing. It's a lovely feeling. But yes, some people do it. Some people do it for freedom, and actually they only want to sell 2 houses a month to earn, what, 40 grand? Do you know what I mean? Because they don't want to be in an office at 8:30 in the morning. They don't want to have a boss ringing them. They don't want to do spreadsheets. So that answer, it's a hard one to answer because whoever's listening to this, they might have a different reason of why they're thinking of going self-employed, if that makes sense. Does that make sense,
Mm.
John?
No, it does. It does, because everyone's got a different reason. And I think a lot of, for me, Scott Gunn reached out to me about 4.5, 5 years ago. And I was like, that sounds great, but I need to make sure I'm bringing the money into the house.
Yep.
And then I sort of floated off. And then Simon Taylor, also EXP, reached out and said, John, mate, what are you doing? You're doing all this great work on TikTok, but you're not taking the leap completely.
Yeah.
I was making the excuse of, I need to bring money into the house, so I'm trying to do this on the side, and also bring the money into the house as well. And I get what you're saying. And then eventually I come across Adam Mackay, and him and I spoke, and he told me what he was up to. And in the end, I was like, "Do you know what am I doing? What am I doing?
So
I
what
am
was the
just,
penny drop? What was the penny drop for you then? Because one of
if
my
I
agents that
didn't,
has signed this week has 2 years we've been talking, 2 years, and his was just one meeting with an area manager that pissed him off. And he'd been seeing loads of stuff on LinkedIn, and he was like, "Do you know what? I haven't got the money. What had stopped him for 2 years was the money." And he went,
yeah,
just fuck it. I'll go and get a loan because I can't do it anymore. I just
yeah,
can't." What was
no,
your penny
absolutely.
drop?
But it was seeing the good stuff the business and the agents are doing it, because I had interviewed Linda Stringer that you mentioned earlier. I'd interviewed her
Okay.
before I even knew she was EXP. I interviewed Simon Taylor before I knew he was EXP.
Mm,
Yeah. Jack Terry before I knew he was EXP. And I was seeing all
wow.
these personalities and didn't realize EXP was the platform that they were working upon. I didn't know it, right? I didn't
Because you were
realize that.
looking
And
at
it
them,
wasn't
wasn't
obvious.
you? You were drawn
Correct.
to them as an individual. Exactly.
Yeah, and they were doing some amazing things. And of course, like Linda's, you talk about signature and videos and her hats and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, Luke Williams, EXP. And I suddenly
Yeah.
realized, I thought, oh my, I'm interviewing EXP agents. Not that this is like an EXP podcast necessarily, but it's certainly, I was like, I need to back myself. And eventually, do you know what I did? I didn't tell my wife that I had a marketing role. that I was doing part-time 4 days a week, and I agreed with the boss because the boss wanted me to go self-employed, and he was willing to back me on that despite having no equity in the business or anything else. And he was like, right, why don't we go 4 days a week for me? Then when you're got a couple of instructions, then you go 3 days a week, then a couple of instructions, then it goes to
Yeah.
2 days a week. And so I didn't tell my wife, and I had my last 1,200 quid
Oh,
available. That's all I had. And the same as what that other guy said when that final straw came, I thought, "Do you know what? If I don't do this now, I never will, and it will be eternal regret."
yeah.
And the first proper year, which has been 2025, so starting from March, basically, I've had some like mad results. But to your point, it was a case of I'm jumping in both feet. The boats are now burned. I don't have no way back no more, and I am
Yeah.
never, ever, ever, ever going to work for any other agent in my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. And this year already, I've now got a 6-week waiting list before I can put someone's property on the market.
Oh, that's
That's it,
incredible. And
right?
they'll
And
wait
do you know
for
what?
you.
Absolutely. And been the best decision. And so when I am speaking to people that are wondering whether they should go self-employed, and that's the reason I ask you about the resourcefulness. I remember once having no money and asking a guy because he was ex-military and he had this really good product. And I was like, can I get on that course, which was 292 quid? And can I get on it for free? And I promise you, I'll pay you back. And he said, no. What he said to me was, be resourceful. Be resourceful. And I didn't fully appreciate or understand what he was saying at the time. But every month since coming self-employed with zero money coming in,
Yeah.
I have managed to be resourceful enough to keep it going. And now I've got a big fat pipeline, but
Yeah.
of sellers that know, like, and trust me and are asking me to sell their house before I've even seen it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I
And
get.
that is
Yeah. And it's the
so go
beauty of it.
exactly that. And that goes back to your point, is that the people weren't really buying maybe the corporate that you were working on the platform that was provided for you to pay your mortgage and your rent and put food on the table. Those clients were buying Samantha Cerrone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think,
But it
and
took
that's
me
why I
so
think
long to realise it, and I don't think a lot of people out there do. Even some of
mm,
the best people in the corporate world, they don't actually understand it's them. It's them.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. And it is hard. And it does come with, look, if you've got our other half, I didn't tell my wife, and that was like breakup material that was, because of course I'm pulling the rug from underneath her feet and I didn't even tell her, so that's
Oh
like,
gosh, that's
that's really bad.
ballsy.
But I knew what the answer would have been, and that wouldn't have been because she would have tried to stop me from doing it. It would have been, well, where's the money coming from then? What's the plan to get that money in?
Yeah.
And I didn't have that loan. Yeah. I didn't have any of that or anything to fall back on. And it was just like, it's got to happen. It has to. And the most interesting
Yeah.
thing is when I decided this is what's happening is when everything, all the momentum started moving, and trying to
Yeah.
bottle that up and say to someone,
They
you
don't get it
hate
until
your
you're in it.
corporate role.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, it's amazing. But for you, you mentioned like time freedom. What was the biggest thing about self-employed agency that you noticed straight away? Was it that time freedom or was it something else?
Oh
Because,
God, John,
and the reason I say,
go on.
no, because the reason I say that is because I absolutely love what I do. My problem is I can't switch off because I
Yeah.
love what I do so much.
So I had
So,
this conversation with my social media guy yesterday. He was like, "What do you do to switch off?" And I'm like, "Do we fully switch off as business owners?" And I don't think anyone of us can answer that properly. But um, there, there was a few things that like dawned on me, but it all happened like later on, and it's like because you're on like the best way I can explain it, you're on like the estate agency treadmill, I call it. That you get up every day and you just go. The second your eyes wake, like the second you open your eyes, you're like, right, where are my leads coming in? Where's my new instruction coming from? And everything like that. Um, what I didn't realise I had is a creative side to me. I was
Mhm.
like, so somebody would ask me to put their house on the market. All of a sudden, I was in their house, it wasn't about winning the instruction to go back to the office to say, there's another one towards my target. I was sat in that house thinking, like, how best can I market this for my owner? And in my head, I'm like, well, if I can market this properly, another person's going to want to come on the market with me. So yeah, I'd never realized I even had like a creative side. Does that make sense? So I would
Yeah.
spend like a couple of hours scrolling Instagram, like how's the best way to market a house, and my videographer would send him links. Right, I've got this new house. I want the video to go like this. One of my first really big videos I did, I kind of like begged the owner. I was just like, look, just please give me a house in the nicest possible way. She'd been recommended me anyway, but I was up against some of the big agents that were well known, and it was a 900 grand house, which is a lot for over our way. And I just said,
Mm.
just let me do something special for you. You've been here for 30 years. You've brought your whole family up here. You're now moving to Cornwall, but this house means so much to you. So let me leave you with a keepsake. Let me do something proud for you. I ended up like having drone. We were there all day. Drone footage, amazing video content. My little boy featured in it. My little goddaughter featured in it. Like they were running about in the playground. Two friends that I knew, they were the runners, and they were running down the lanes because we like did some video footage of like the lanes and the local. And then I ended it in the local pub pouring a pint. And I was just like, look, the house is about the lifestyle. So yeah, it's then throw in the I didn't have to get ready whilst I was getting my kids ready for school, and actually I could drop them off and then I could go home and do my makeup in peace. And my first appointment would start at 11 o'clock. Um, instead of being in an office for 8:30. That was the beauty of it, being able to go for a run after the school run. Um, yeah, just literally looking at my diary and being like, right, I'll start work today at 12. Yeah, like, so yeah, I found a creative side, and I just had this little bit of extra freedom just to do little things that you struggle to do when you've got a boss
Mm.
dictating your hours, like walking the dog, running.
Yeah.
Do you mean it's hard to fit all that in when you're in corporate? Otherwise, you wake up in the morning at 6:30 to walk the dog, or you wake up at 6 o'clock to go for a run. No, you can do that at 9 o'clock. Yeah, does that make sense? I
So
taught loads,
so
don't I?
no, but do you know what? It absolutely does make sense. What would you say though is the difference between an agent and an elite agent?
Uh, if you look at it from the owner's perspective, to me, it's two things. Um, the level of the service that you're going to get from a self employed agent is just on another level. Do you know what I mean? We do not get freaking paid till it goes through. With an average agent, if that sale falls through, they don't care. Do you know what I mean? They're going back home. It's not the end of the world for them. Okay, they're going to lose an extra 50 quid in their paycheck next month or something. To us, it's thousands. So the service level that you're going to get and the commitment you're going to get from a self-employed agent will make the journey easier for the owner. And then on the flip side, I mean, you might get some good ones in corporate, don't get me wrong. And if they are, they need to just get out and go self-employed.
Mm.
But we, hand on heart, will get that best sale price. We so
Yeah.
fucking well. Like,
Mm.
yeah, so the owner
And
can't
also,
win. The owner can't lose, sorry.
yeah, and that's also because you're right. If you're not going to get paid, then until the deal's actually completed, it just means that you have to mold and shape the sale in such a
Got to.
way that it's like whether it completes or not is irrelevant because it's gonna complete,
It's got
and it's
to.
not a
Yep.
exactly, and that's and it's not always about the price, right? In terms of what
No,
someone gets, it's about actually getting people moved and obviously getting them the most money you possibly can. But equally, what it does mean, I find, is that having straight and honest conversations about where people are at from day one, week one, not saying things that sound nice, and that's the difference for me, between elite and just another agent. It's the business model. If I'm employed, I can still get a salary at the end of the month, and I may have a couple of deals that have gone through.
exactly.
Um, and if they don't, I'm still getting paid. Whereas self-employed, it's no. I have to know everything because I need to just see the punches coming well before they actually land. But in your experience, though, right? Where do most sellers commonly lose money? Not because of the market, but because of maybe some advice that they've been given. Where
Oh
do they
God,
lose most?
there's quite a few, isn't there? So they could be drawn to the most expensive valuation that's come in, just naturally drawn. Well, hang on, that's 25 grand more than I expected. So wow, if we could get 25 grand. So then they might go on the market with the wrong agent. And then before you know it, they're tied into a 4 or 5 month contract. They can't do anything about it. And then the only way that they're going to get sold is if they reduce it. The longer the house is on the market, the less attractive it becomes, the lower offers you get in. So actually just choosing the wrong price, you can lose money.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I'd like to think it doesn't happen anymore, but like marketing, there's still the odd agent that just does the most basic photos going. And it just doesn't do the house justice. Like, have you ever gone to a house where they've been on the market with another agent, and we're very quick as estate agents to think, oh, it hasn't sold. Is it the price? But actually, the first thing that we should be looking at is, well, how's it marketed? So,
Yeah.
like, oh my god, it's the worst front photo going. And oh my god, that kit, like we can see past it, can't we? We can be like, that kitchen is so much better because we can see that the lighting's awful or the angle's been taken crap. Or you know where like it's a phone and they've taken it like like high up in the corner like this to try and get the angle, and all you're seeing is like a downward view. So yeah, and then that's the most expensive thing that they own, yet they've chose probably one of the cheapest agents to sell their house that is on some of the biggest property platforms going. It's got to look fucking good. So
Mm.
that's in my opinion where they'll lose money, which is getting drawn into being overvalued and choosing an agent that just has shit marketing.
Yeah, if you was giving advice to maybe sellers watching this right or listening to this right now about, listen, do this one thing before you choose an agent, what would be that one thing that you'd be like, just don't do that, whatever that is?
Well, I would actually say pick like it's very normal for them to go and pick 3 agents out to come and value the house. A lot of people get lost in ask the agent how much their fees are and what they're going to do for it. So to me, I will argue the toss that when somebody says you're more expensive than the other or so and so's charging this and you're more or whatever, no, it's bullshit. We're all just putting a quote on the table until the job is done.
Mm.
So move the figures away. Hand on heart, who do you genuinely believe will sell your house for the best possible price? So I think people need to have the balls to be able to say that in an appointment. Um, the other part is if they're picking 3 agents, they should go and mystery shop those 3 agents as a buyer,
Yeah.
which is ring up, see how they're treated. If they can go and view some houses with these agents, because these are the people that supposedly are going to be selling your house. And the amount of people that we win instructions from because we've just showed them around a house and they say you are by far the best agent that showed us around. I want you to come and do viewings at my house. So yeah, forget the whole what are the fees and all stuff like that. Just go and actually be a buyer to those 3 agents that you're thinking of. And is that how you'd want your buyer treated?
Yeah, and I say that a lot on my TikTok channel, which is, you as a seller, you get to sell one house. Your buyer is probably more experienced than the agent showing
Yep,
them your house, because they're seeing maybe 15, 16 other properties online, maybe go and visit maybe 7 or 8 of those properties in the flesh, of which the negotiators are trying to get deals done. So they're trying to get the buyer to make an offer, which is lowballing you as a seller. But you, the seller, you
exactly.
don't know your own agents become the enemy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I totally
Like
agree with that. And then from
they forget to ask, don't they? How will you show somebody around my house? What would the viewing tour look like? Because
mm,
actually, that viewing is going to determine whether that person buys your house and buys it at a good price.
yeah.
Um. So yeah,
And also, you as the agent, you're representing the actual seller, that you're representing the transaction. And if you don't have the soft skills to fully understand why that buyer's asked to go and see that property in the first place and whether it's actually going to be right for them, and also you don't have the soft skills to just talk to people like they're human beings and make sure you know everything about that house, so
exactly
you don't
that.
have to go, "Oh, I
They're a
need to go and
human
talk to
being.
someone."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly
Um,
that.
then out of principle, and I've seen it on TikTok and I've seen it in my career, people will not buy a perfectly good home because of the agent. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, so your point about like doing mystery shopping and going out on
Mm,
a few viewings, that time spent is thousands and thousands and thousands in potentially lost revenue just
yeah,
saved.
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From an agent's perspective, right? One piece of advice for an agent listening to this right now that is out there going, do you know what? I need to do the self-employed gig. Don't have to be with us at EXP,
No, no,
but I
no,
need
no.
to do the self-employed gig. You know, I can't do, but something stopping. What would you say? What would you say to them to give them the encouragement to actually do it?
I think the first thing is they've got to ask themselves a question, because it's not for everybody. We both know that, John. You have to ask yourself how much you're bringing to that branch where you're working. And you have to ask yourself. So for example, a little light bulb moment for me was had a full day of appointments, which was 5 viewings. 4 of those people requested for me personally. So if you're sat in a branch and you're considering going self-employed and your diary is full of 80% of people that are requesting for you, then all you need to do is literally have a 3 to 6 month spell of being uncomfortable. How much are you willing to go how are you willing to be uncomfortable, basically? Like, have some limits of it, because the long-term game, and we say long-term, that first 12 months as a self-employed estate agent, you run off adrenaline. It keeps yeah, you just have this focus, like we've said on this call. It will happen. It will happen. That money will land in your bank in 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It will happen, because everything that's happening in that branch is because of you. Now, if you're a lister or if you're a branch manager that just sits there, waits for the phone to ring, doesn't get involved, if you're a branch manager and your lister's off and you can't be asked to go and do the listings, or if you just wait for the phone to ring for leads, then no, it's completely not for you. It's not. But we all know the ones that are there that are doing it because of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Samantha Cerrone, I know you're busy and I know you've got to leave, so thank you so much for
You're
joining me
welcome
on this podcast.
Lovely to speak with you, John. Thank you for having me.
So there are 3 things that absolutely maximise the value of a home, but they are also the same 3 things that cause chaos and dramas and problems. That is the agent, the pricing strategy, and the marketing. Get any one of those wrong and your seller is completely, I'm going to say bleep, right? They're not inconvenienced, they're not delayed, they are completely bleep. And this is why conversations like today matter, because Samantha Cerrone doesn't just tick those 3 boxes, she controls them. She understands how buyers think. She knows how to price with intent, not hope. And she markets property in a way that builds trust, confidence, and competition. That is not theory, that's results. And this is exactly what we need to be leaning into when we're going on valuations. Not inflated numbers, not brand names, not promises that sound nice, but a proven system that protects sellers from losing money quietly. Next episode, episode 75, I sit down with Paul Child and we talk about why sellers are still being sold contracts instead of outcomes, and why the high street agencies are more exposed than they realise, and why 2026 will force a hard reset in this industry. Looking forward to speaking with you then.